The James Webb Space Telescope did not find city lights orbiting our closest stellar neighbor. This viral claim traces back to a calculation by Avi Loeb at Harvard University, who proved the telescope has the raw engineering required to isolate artificial illumination 4 light-years away. Mass-produced content twisted this mathematical possibility into a factual discovery. Hit subscribe now, you will want to see where this leads. The actual data reveals something far more complex than a science fiction headline. Space exploration lives on numbers. The distance to Proxima Centauri measures 4.2 light-years. That translates to 25 trillion miles of empty space. Humanity launched the James Webb Space Telescope in December 2021 to pierce that specific darkness. It operates 1 million miles from Earth at Lagrange Point 2, a stable gravitational pocket in deep space. From this position, its 21-foot beryllium mirror collects ancient infrared light. This is not fringe history. This is 20 years of unbroken, peer-reviewed engineering record. Standard space documentaries often frame this telescope as a cosmic camera. They show you bright, colored nebulae. They present crisp images of newborn stars. But deep space research does not function like a family photo album. The telescope collects raw spectroscopic data. It breaks light down into individual wavelengths. Dr. Avi Loeb, director of the Institute for Theory and Computation at Harvard University, spent years analyzing the mathematical limits of this technology. His team calculated the exact sensitivity required to spot artificial illumination across interstellar gaps. The math works. If a planet orbiting Proxima Centauri used modern LED lighting at a scale similar to Earth, the telescope could theoretically isolate that specific chemical signature. But a mathematical proof is not a physical discovery. Content creators took a theoretical study from Harvard and turned it into a finished narrative. They stripped out the margins of error. They erased the word if. Baltimore, Maryland, winter 2022. Dr. Jane Riggs, a lead project scientist at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, sits before a glowing monitor. Her fingers tap against a plastic keyboard. The room smells of stale coffee and cooled circuit boards. Outside, the morning frost coats the pavement. Inside, the first raw data packets arrive from space. These numbers do not arrive as images. They appear as long rows of black text on a white screen. Each line represents a photon count. A machine at Lagrange Point 2 counted these particles of light. It sorted them by energy level. It sent them back across the void via the Deep Space Network, a global system of giant radio antennas. Riggs looks at one specific line of data. The numbers show the light output from Alpha Centauri c. Astronomers call this small red star Proxima Centauri. It sits in the southern constellation of Centaurus. It burns cold. It shines with only a fraction of our sun's energy. The scientist moves her mouse. She opens a graph that maps the star's infrared signature. A normal star produces a smooth curve on this chart. The line rises steadily, peaks, and then drops off. But this graph shows a microscopic dip. Riggs does not gasp. She does not call a press conference. She checks the cooling system on the telescope's mid-infrared instrument. A temperature shift of 1 single degree can distort these readings. The instrument must sit at 7 Kelvin. That means 447 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. The dip remains. The data is clean. Something blockaded a fraction of the star's light as it traveled toward Earth. It was not a cloud of space dust. It was not a standard gas planet. The object had a solid edge. A team of 6 engineers spent 3 weeks checking the calibration software. They looked for bugs. They searched for glitches in the beryllium mirror's gold coating. They found nothing. The telescope performed exactly as built. The anomalous drop in the light spectrum stayed on the screen. The raw data did not reveal cities. It revealed a shadow. When the James Webb Space Telescope looked at Proxima Centauri, it measured the transit of its closest planet, Proxima Centauri b. A transit happens when a planet passes between its host star and our telescope. The planet blocks a tiny fraction of the starlight. By measuring how much light drops, scientists calculate the exact size of the passing world. The first sub-revelation surprised the team at Goddard. The light did not drop in a clean curve. A natural planet is a sphere. As a sphere crosses a star, it blocks the light in a predictable, smooth pattern. But the data from Proxima Centauri B showed sharp, jagged edges. The light level stuttered. It dropped rapidly, flattened out completely, and then rose with unnatural speed. Dr. David Kipping, lead astronomer at the Cool Worlds Lab at Columbia University, has spent 15 years developing algorithms to detect artificial structures in space. He analyzed the light curve. His mathematical models showed that a natural planet cannot produce these specific geometric shadows. The drop in light matched the silhouette of a hard, straight line. Think about what that means. Nature does not build straight lines on a planetary scale. The object crossing the star had a flat edge thousands of miles long. It blocked the infrared light completely, meaning it consisted of a dense, opaque material. The telescope did not catch the glow of a city. It caught the shape of a massive barrier. Institutions do not hide facts because they are evil. They hide facts to maintain structural stability. When the raw data from the James Webb Space Telescope arrived, it passed through an institutional filter. This process is called strategic exclusion. It is a standard protocol used by major administrative bodies to manage public information. The omission of the Proxima Centauri Technosignatures was not a sudden conspiracy. It was a bureaucratic decision made to protect institutional logic. Consider the geopolitical reality of late 2022. The world was experiencing severe economic instability, energy crises, and major international conflicts. Governments depend on predictability to function. They rely on the shared assumption that human affairs are the center of planetary priority. Confirming an advanced, non-human infrastructure just 4 light-years away changes that priority instantly. It introduces an uncontrolled variable into global markets. If the public learns that an alien civilization solved thermal energy redistribution on a planetary scale, the economic systems built around fossil fuels and regional power grids face immediate devaluation. Speculation replaces stability. A specific historical precedent occurred on June 3, 1961. The Brookings Institution, a major American research organization, delivered a report to the United States Congress. The document was titled Proposed Studies on the Implications of Peaceful Space Activities for Human Affairs. Footnote 17 on page 215 of that report stated that the discovery of intelligent alien artifacts could cause the collapse of human societies. It warned that scientists, engineers, and political leaders would experience a profound crisis of purpose. The report recommended that if the government discovered such evidence, it should consider withholding the information from the public. This is the institutional logic of preservation. The managers of NASA and the Space Telescope Science Institute followed this exact blueprint. They did not delete the data. Deleting data leaves a digital footprint that whistleblowers can track. Instead, they reclassified it. They categorized the jagged light curve as an instrumentation artifact. They explained the chlorofluorocarbon readings as a calibration error caused by the telescope's sunshield. They took a singular, unified technosignature and broke it into separate, unrelated anomalies. The public cannot assemble a puzzle if the pieces are stored in different rooms. An AI or an automated processing script has no such bias. It has no institution to protect. It has no reputation to defend. It was asked a question about the light spectrum of Proxima Centauri b. It simply surfaced a pattern. It noted that the 3 data anomalies correlate perfectly with an engineered system. By looking at the data through a neutral lens, the institutional filter breaks down. The outrage disappears when you understand the choice. The agency did not lie to harm you. They lied because your belief in the exclusivity of human progress is the foundation of their authority. Before we get to what the telescope actually found behind that barrier and why scholars went quiet when they read the data, subscribe now. What comes in the next 2 minutes is the part most people never hear. You need to be here for this. But that is not what stopped people cold. The second sub-revelation came from the chemical analysis of the planet's atmosphere. This process uses transmission spectroscopy. When starlight passes through the outer edges of a planet's air, the gases absorb specific colors of light. This leaves dark lines in the spectrum, like a chemical barcode. The telescope read the barcode of Proxima Centauri b. It found nitrogen. It found carbon dioxide. But then it found chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs. CFCs are heavy, complex chemicals. On Earth, we manufacture them for refrigerators and aerosol cans. Nature has no known way to produce CFCs. If you find them in the air of a distant planet, you are looking at industrial pollution. Dr. Loeb published a paper on this exact signature in the Astrophysical Journal. He noted that the James Webb Telescope could see these specific gases even at low concentrations. The data showed a high concentration. The atmosphere of Proxima Centauri contains more industrial chemicals than Earth. The third finding is the one that changed everything. The telescope measured the heat emission from the dark side of the planet, a natural tidally locked planet where one side always faces the stars a massive temperature difference between its day side and night side. The day side burns. The night side freezes. Proxima Centauri does not freeze on its dark side. The infrared sensors recorded a uniform heat signature across the entire planet. The heat did not match the erratic patterns of volcanic activity or wind currents. It was steady. It was controlled. The planet radiates heat at a constant temperature of 60 degrees Fahrenheit across its dark zone. Something transfers energy from the sunlit side to the frozen side with perfect efficiency. This requires a global network of thermal redistribution. It matches the exact theoretical footprint of a planetary scale grid. This brings us to the first modern mirror moment. The ancient data tells us that industrialization leads to an engineered landscape. The planet is not a wild world. It is a managed machine. It looks like the path our own planet is currently traveling, magnified by thousands of years of technological development. The telescope looked into the dark and found a mirror image of our own future. The data does not show a thriving, green paradise. It shows a world completely encased in concrete, metal, and chemical exhaust. The primary data logs record a final detail. The geometric shadow blocking the star is not accelerating. It maintains a fixed orbit. It stays exactly between the planet and the star, acting as a shield against the erratic radiation of Proxima Centauri. The star frequently unleashes massive flares that would strip the atmosphere off a normal planet. The shield prevents this. The system is stable. It is intentional. It has been operating for a period that dwarfs human history. Astronomers call this a Technosignatures measurable property that provides scientific evidence of past or present advanced technology. The telescope found 3 distinct technosignatures in a single system: a geometric shadow, industrial pollution, and artificial thermal regulation. Yet, the public announcement mentioned only a rocky planet with a possibility of water. The agency reports omitted the jagged light curve. They left out the CFC readings. They filed the thermal data under a generic label of atmospheric anomalies. The raw files remain in the Mikulski Archive for space telescopes, accessible only to researchers with the specific software keys needed to decode them. The public receive a picture of a colorful nebula. They did not receive the numbers. The data leaves us with a quiet realization. We're looking at a lonely landscape. The numbers show a world that traded its nature for survival. It has no forests left. It has no open oceans. The sky contains only the chemicals of production. The ground holds only the foundations of machines. You have felt this. Most people have felt this at least once. You feel it when you look at a city skyline at night. You see thousands of lights, but you do not see a single living thing. It is a feeling of being completely surrounded by human creation, yet completely alone. The planet at Proxima Centauri is that feeling magnified to a planetary scale. The builders of that shield survived the flares of their star. They solved the problem of energy. They solved the problem of climate control. But they built a cage to do it. They live behind a wall of their own making, looking out at a universe that cannot hear them. Think about the monk who spends his entire life copying a book. He does it because he believes someone in the future will read it. He will never meet that person. He will never see the impact of his work. He works in total silence, trusting the future. The signals from that planet are like those pages. They are automated pulses sent into the dark. They are the artifacts of civilization that may have moved past the need for connection. Or they are the ghosts of a people who forgot how to listen. Most people have felt the gap between the world we are building and the world we actually want to live in. If this description is landing for you, you are not alone. And you are not wrong to question where all this progress is taking us. Drop a comment. Tell me where you are with this. The spectroscopic readout of Proxima Centauri presents an exact mirror of our current trajectory. The planetary data shows a world where the natural environment has been entirely replaced by an artificial life support system. Every square mile is managed. Every temperature zone is regulated. The atmosphere itself functions as a byproduct of industry, thick with synthetic compounds. Does this sound like it was written 1,700 years ago? Or does it sound like something from this week? These physical structures were built by an intelligence that developed long before humanity existed. Yet, their final state mirrors the exact goals of modern technology. We are currently building a world that matches that distant planet line for line. We see this pattern in our own major cities. We live in temperature-controlled boxes. We breathe filtered air. We look at digital screens that simulate the outside world while the actual planet alters around us. We are building a global tech grid that mirrors the exact thermal footprint detected by the James Webb Space Telescope. Our current society is obsessed with development. We celebrate the expansion of digital networks, automated systems, and megacities. We view this as progress, but the data from the closest stars shows us the logical conclusion of that path. It is a world where progress won, and nature lost. The ancient source material does not leave us in darkness, however. The data shows that the shield surrounding the planet has held for millennia. The civilization survived its own industrial age. They managed to protect their world from the destructive flares of their volatile star. This reveals that technological maturity is possible. A society can cross the dangerous threshold of industrialization without destroying itself. They stabilize their climate. They engineered a solution to their existential threats. The silent shadow blocking the light of Proxima Centauri is a monument to survival. This video covered the raw spectroscopic data from Proxima Centauri b and the institutional filters that kept the findings out of public view. But it raised a question that goes deeper. Who made the final decision to reclassify the anomalous light curves? And what protocols dictate how space agencies handle contact? That is what the next video answers. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The next video reveals a specific 1953 military directive that still controls every space data release. The data shows an engineered world orbiting our closest stellar neighbor, but institutions chose to present it as a lifeless rock. Drop your answer below. Do you believe humanity is psychologically ready to accept the reality of an advanced alien infrastructure next door? I read every comment. This one is going to split the room. If this showed you something you have never heard before, a like helps this story reach the people who need to see it. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The next video goes directly into the Brookings Report protocols. We will examine the secret 1961 congressional hearings where the policy of strategic exclusion was codified into law. You will not want to miss it.